You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
The first taste of rare bourbon you finally got your hands on. That's nice. At Caskers.com, we make this experience easy. Caskers is a one-stop spirit curator with an impressive selection of exclusive, sought-after, rare, and household names in the realm of premium spirits and champagne. Discover the top flavors of the year now by going to Caskers.com and using code WELCOME10 for $10 off your first purchase. Get $10 off your first purchase with code WELCOME10 at Caskers.com.
Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. If you come to tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. You look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, gang? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Jacob the Beard in Wisconsin. Jacob, how we doing today, big dog?
Doing good, man. So we were chatting just before we went live. I got a lot of stuff done today. It's another beautiful day. It's 65 and sunny in Wisconsin. It's just amazing.
I love it, man. Spring is here, dude. We got up to, I think we're getting up to close to 80 here the next few days. So it's pretty warm down here. Got the sun on the shoulders. Got to start getting the sunscreen on the top of the ears. Man, they're getting a little crispy up there. When you get older, guys, I'm telling you, man, things just happen. It sucks.
Yeah. I also had, it's tough. I'm a musician now, so I produced and I wrote and I cut about 5 or 6 songs today. Then maybe someday you guys can in the chat can hear them. I wrote songs about Clayton having a possum in a dumpster, Emilio's race car bed, and about Tim being a undercover Taylor Swift fan. And I found a website that turned it into legitimately 6 of the best songs I've ever heard in my life.
It was unbelievable. He used artificial intelligence to create these songs. The Emilio one was top notch. When it said Italian art, he said Italian art with Mexican spice. Bro, I spit my drink out. I was like, how is that even included in the song? So just phenomenal work, Jacob. You deserve an award for it, no doubt about it. It definitely made my day go by a lot quicker, man. I was cracking up. So that being said, though, that's a good segue, I believe. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it.
Thanks, Eric.
Let's give a shout out to and we got Carly Ray joining us now. Carly, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
No, we're great. We're doing good. Just here to talk a little Packers. So let's just kind of start off with a little bit of news here, if that's all right with you all.
Yeah.
So obviously Aaron Wilson tweeted out, Packers signed exclusive rights free agents Emmanuel Wilson and Daniel Whelan. Obviously, this is like no great breaking news or anything, but these are the things that we were talking about all season long. We expected Emmanuel Wilson back as well as Daniel Whelan because they did have those exclusive rights to the free agents. So obviously that's officially done now. Now, across the NFC North, Jacob, I want to get your take on this, and we'll get yours too, Carly. This was real interesting. You know, we got a contract coming up here for Justin Jefferson since we're in the NFC North. And Ian Rappaport tweeted out 2 big-name receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, were not present for voluntary offseason conditioning as they await contract extensions. Now, obviously, it sounds like Justin Jefferson has been in the building in the past, and with him in this contract extension kind of looming, I don't know, man. I'm not saying he won't be a Viking, but the fact that they still don't have that quarterback situation figured out, Jacob, if you're Justin Jefferson, you got to be kind of looking at some of these other teams going, man, I think I'd rather be there.
If you're Justin Jefferson, you're thinking, if we don't strike gold in this draft, I might be inconsequential for the next 3 to 4 years if they don't snag a, you know what I mean? It's harder than people think to just get it's harder to do what we just did, to get a quarterback in the draft. And most people don't sit him. They play him right away. I'm sure Minnesota would be one even if best case scenario, they get a guy that they really have confidence in, they're probably, if they're smart, they're going to probably let Darnold play at least the first half of the season. And even that there, he's looking at it and he goes, all right, first 8, games of my season, I'm going to be playing with Sam Darnold. I don't know how he feels about that. I know that if he's trying to get a lot of money, I would argue he's the top 2, if not the best wide receiver in the league. So it just seems kind of common now at that position that they're going to, even just the flex of possibly holding out is enough sometimes to make organizations kind of crap their pants. And I think that right now the Vikings are so at a tipsy-turvy, part of their rebuilding process that I think he's probably just trying to get the most money maybe that he could. But there is probably something to the case that he doesn't maybe want to, maybe that he doesn't trust that front office there, because that's what, Coach is saying.
Yeah, Coach Lynn in the chat said it's a lot of pressure on the front office. Obviously, Coach Lynn's got a lot of experience working with wide receivers. The Bill Walsh school of thought was wide receivers the last piece you put in place, right? Now, it's not to say that it's the only way to build a roster. Part of me kind of sits back, and if I try to play devil's advocate and put myself in the Viking shoes, Justin Jefferson, one of, if not the best wide receivers in the league. But when you look at their roster, you go, we don't even have a quarterback. I'm not going to lie, man. I kind of step back and go, what if we could get a haul for Justin Jefferson, since we don't have the key pieces in place right now? At the same time, I understand the other side of the argument where it's, are you going to let one of the best at his position go too, right? It's a tough decision. So I'm just glad the Vikings are the ones having to make that tough decision. But Carl, anything to add to that?
Do you think that he's waiting to see who they draft to see if they can jump up and get somebody before he actually signs the contract and makes it final?
Yeah, I think that if they threw the book at him and made him the highest paid wide receiver in the league, money talks, right? Money talks and BS walks. Ain't that the old saying you guys got up there, Jacob? Didn't you coin that phrase, I believe? So if they threw the book at him and said, hey, we want to make you the highest paid wide receiver and the guaranteed money's just through the roof, I don't think it really matters, Carly. But if they're not that aggressive with the contract negotiation and it being early in the process going into the contract year, I could see that playing in what you're saying there. I know if I was in Justin Jefferson's shoes, I'd be sitting back like I said, man, I'd be looking down south going, man, Green Bay's got their crap together. They got their franchise quarterback, it seems. The Bears are getting ready to draft Caleb Williams. There is no one saying that Caleb Williams isn't the most physically talented quarterback to come out in a long time, right? It's just the personal stuff, right? Is he going to be that leader that you want in the locker room? That's where the questions are. And you look across the rest of the league at some of the teams. Look at Houston, right? C.J. Stroud, they've got their quarterback. Justin Jefferson's like, well, what I would do to be in an organization like that right now. So Prince in the chat says if they trade him before the draft, already having 2 number ones, they could seriously reload that roster. That's kind of how I'm looking at it too. But man, again, when you're talking about trading one of the best away at their position, it's not just like a slam dunk. I don't want to send the wrong impression here that I'm like, yeah, just trade arguably the best wide receiver in the league.
But is he what kind of a free, is he an exclusive rights free agent or unrestricted? Like, do they necessarily get anything if they trade him? Like, couldn't he just leave?
Justin Jefferson, here's the thing. You can franchise tag him 2 years in a row. If they want him, they can hold him hostage. There's no doubt about that. And Jacob, he was a first round pick, right? Am I thinking right?
Yeah, because we were.
I think he was. Let me check real quick. You go ahead and talk for a second.
I'm pretty sure that he was, because I remember thinking like I really wanted Justin Jefferson, and when I saw the Vikings take him, I remember just being like, "Oh, are you serious?" And that was again right after Stephon Diggs left, and that's after they had freaking what's his name for Thielen, who was just crazy for a while, and then of course we had the Moss years, and they just always seem to luck into really good wide receivers.
Yeah, he was the 22nd pick overall. Trying to see if they put the 5th-year option on him. The 5th-year option is worth, so if he was drafted in, I just had that information. He was drafted in the 2020 draft. So I would see 2024. Yeah, they could hit him with the 5th-year option, and I'm sure they will. I think that lands at somewhere around $19 million. So, so to answer your question, Carly, they could hit him with the 5th-year option. He could play at roughly $19 million if I'm looking at that number right. So it's like a mini franchise tag, so they can get him a lot cheaper. They basically got a 1-year bridge, and then they can franchise tag him 2 years in a row. So they have the leverage in the negotiation, no doubt about it. But I think as Packer fans, it's almost like wishful thinking. Like I hope they don't have Justin Jefferson, but probably going to have him in the long haul. As far as the long-term plans of Minnesota, I would imagine. So,
and especially if they're going to get a younger quarterback, like they're going to want to give that quarterback the biggest chance to succeed, as they can. And I could not see them letting him walk. I mean, I guess I could if you're thinking that you're not going to be viable for a while, but I mean, like you said, if they can franchise tag him and do that, then I don't see any reason really to let him go. I mean, they want to compete, but yeah.
We let Devontae go. I mean,
it's a good point. He was the best wide receiver in the game, right? And I think many would say that we were closer than Minnesota was, but nonetheless, let's hear. Rocket Knot says the Packers shouldn't sign Love. They should let him play another season before they give him the cash. Let him focus. I mean, that's one way to handle it. I think that the longer that you drag this out and you don't give him the contract extension, if you believe Love is the guy, in my opinion, I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong, Rocket Knight. I think you got to sign him because look what happened with Devontae. They drug it out. They said, let's see it one more year. That's what Devontae said they told him. Yep. And he's like, you know what? Screw y'all. I'm leaving. And I don't want to see that happen with Jordan Love. There'd be nothing worse than him calling their bluff like Devontae did and then end up losing possibly a franchise quarterback right now. If you're one of those folks that's saying, hey, let's see it for a full season, I can understand that. I think I disagree with it. I think you should get ahead of the curve there. I think he probably is the guy. But there are some folks that kind of come with that argument of, hey, look, he did it for 9 games. Are we sure he's the one, right? I can understand that argument. I disagree with it, but I can understand it for sure. So,
I think one other aspect to that too is just we talked about how it was all, first starting year by himself, and it was clear the first half it wasn't all clicking, but we forget how the team was not clicking at all too. And once the team started working together, it was like smooth as butter for this guy. And like we talked about, the numbers he put up were historic, and the fact that I'd be comfortable signing him now because you've seen he's already in off-season grind. He was working weeks ago. You know what I mean? He basically took no time off. Whoever it was, I can't remember if it was Jeremiah or one of the other contributors, were like, this is the earliest we've ever seen a quarterback work in the preseason in the offseason other than Drew Brees. So, I mean, that shows me that he's taking it seriously. And so,
yeah, I agree. STM40 says the Packers should sign Love, let him focus. Said the same exact thing Rocket Knot said, but said sign him and let him focus. Coach Lynn says, pay the man, then he can focus on just ball. I think that's probably a large majority that wants Jordan Love, re-sign for sure. Let's see here.
What about that?
Yeah, but 17 regrets leaving. Did he say that? I haven't heard him say that.
He says it with his eyes, Clayton.
Exactly. I've never heard him say that. And again, the reason he wanted to play Vegas, it was his childhood favorite team.
Right.
His grandmother can now travel to the games and for health reasons and see him play. He's a lot closer to family.
And at the time, it was his college quarterback.
Right. And boy, they canned him quick. Wild how that works. Let's see right here. Randy Cleaver says we need to lock Love up now. And then Prince in the chat says, "Get you guys and I'm out of here."
Hey, actually, Clayton, I wanted to comment on what Randy said about we need to lock Love up now. So I've been reading the book The Packer Way by Ron Wolf. It's like 6 or 9 stepping stones to building a successful organization. So it's not just about football, but it's about how to use some of the stepping stones that he kind of came up with as he helped the Packers transition from a 2 decades long or almost 3 decades long slump. And then when he came there as the GM and kind of like his thought process behind getting the people he wanted, getting the players he wanted. And one of the stepping stones is like hire the people, like get the people you want in the building before anybody else does. Like if you know someone is going to be a great leader, if they're going to elevate everyone around them, whether that's on the field or off, like you need to secure them and secure them fast, because you're not going to win anything by just like sitting back and twiddling thumbs and like, well, let's just see a little bit more. I'm not really sure. And then having like that excuse for, oh, well, why didn't you have this guy? Well, we just, waited too long, or I listen to too many other people. Like you have to own the responsibility, and whether it's a win or lose, you have to own that responsibility and go for it. And so I think for that reason, like we know Love's the guy, let's pay him, let's get him on now and just go look forward.
And Goody, obviously his mentor, Ted Thompson, Ted Thompson's mentor, Ron Wolf, right?
Mhm.
They come from the same tree. And Ron Wolf did that very thing. As soon as he got the job, what did he do? He traded a first-round pick for
Mhm.
Brett Favre. He said that's and his quote, I'm sure I'll screw it up, but it was, I'm kind of paraphrasing. He said, I bet my entire career on Brett Favre, and he did not let me down, is what he said. So he knew that was this guy. He went out and got him. Done deal, right?
Mhm.
So I agree with that for sure. Let's see here. What else we got in the chat? Ron Sample says, sign Love, and he will look like a steal in 2 years. That's the thing, Ron. Like, everybody's like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. In 2 years, it's not going to be. You lock him up to a 4 to 6 year deal. In 2 years, you're going to be looking at your salary cap situation going, all right, boys, we know we got our guy. Everything's being built around him. You can put a few of those key pieces in place if you haven't made it to the promised land yet. So, yeah, I completely agree with that, man, for sure. So I think Love's the guy. I'm just saying, playing devil's advocate, I can understand people that say, hey, he only did it for 9 games. I understand that completely because the first half of that season was rough. I'm not going to, pretend like we wasn't sitting there going, oh, Lord, this accuracy's an issue. But, boy, he got it together quick. It was just amazing. So there you go. Just a little Justin Jefferson talk in the NFC North to kind of kick things off. We got some other news that broke here earlier today. Our boy Easton Butler on Twitter said the Packers are hosting Western Michigan edge defender Marshawn Nealon on a top 30 visit. So let's do this. Let's go to the board here real quick, and let's see where Marshawn Nealon is. All right. And let's kind of talk about the potential fit that he may be for the Packers. I'm trying to remember where I've got him at and where we may potentially take him, or at least try to take him at in the draft. So Marshawn Nealon, if I remember correctly,
Right there.
is right here. So he's in the 84 spot, okay? And if you'll notice here in the magenta, I believe that's the proper term there, Jacob, you've got top 30 visit and a Senior Bowl participant. So that's one of those guys that obviously they're on pretty heavy. Now, you'll notice he's not in the dark green. He did not meet the threshold, the max threshold. It doesn't mean they're not interested in him. I want to keep prefacing that. But if I pull up those thresholds real quick, we'll kind of give you guys an idea of where he does fall at the edge position as far as what they like at the edge position, they be in the Packers. So this is from Packer Report and their draft guide. They said the Packers, like most teams, value freak athletes as pass rushers, but unlike some teams, Green Bay has been more specific in what they like. Green Bay has tended to lean more towards long, dense, explosive athletes. Some teams prefer the bendier edge rusher, but the Packers would appear to value broad jump, which is explosion, over the 3-cone bend. Okay. 2023 draft, obviously Lucas Van Ness was 2 inches short on his broad jump from being a tier 1 perfect fit. So they reached just a touch there. Thresholds are 6'4" or taller, 260 pounds or heavier, 120-inch plus on the broad jump, and 34 plus in arm length. Okay, so when you look at Marshawn Nealon, he meets all the criteria, but actually one. So the only thing Marshawn Nealon is lacking to be an absolutely perfect fit is the 6'4". He comes in at 6'3". So what I need to do to get more information on this board, you guys see that I've got the perfect fits are in the dark green there. I think what I'm going to do is remove that color and put a letter grade. So if they're a perfect fit, put an A. If they're lacking one attribute, put a B. If they're lacking 2, put a C, that type of thing, to kind of show us how much of a fit they are come draft night, and we can refer back to the vertical board as we go. So Marshawn Nealon, Jacob, what do you think about him, man? I'm going to pull up some of his other draft rankings here too, but how do you feel about Marshawn Nealon there being a top 30 visit?
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot. He's one of those guys that's a little bit, a question mark because the competition is quite a bit different. But, Coach Len said he liked him. I've liked him. I watched his tape. He looked like he flies around. And when he is at that lower competition, you want to watch these guys just dominating him. And he definitely did that. And, look at that. Prince says that the last player he remembers drafting in Western Michigan was Greg Jennings. Can't remember if that's true. That's kind of cool. Oh, and by the way, Clayton, that's not magenta. That's clearly violet. I'm just saying.
I apologize, sir.
Just saying. But yeah, he's the type of person that I'd love to have in the locker room. It sounds like he's a super good guy, kind of like a rah-rah guy, it sounds like. So I would be personally happy. And I don't know, did we get an age on him? Because him being that 6'3", kind of right on the threshold, he could still be grown a little bit. So
let me see if I can find that real quick. Let's go to him on PFF. They've usually got the age listed. Let's see here. Edge, Marshawn Nealon. I think they were a little higher on him. They have him in the 58 spot, and he's at 22.7 years old. So he'll be 23 this coming football season. 22, still 22 years old when he's drafted. Again, they've got him in the 58 spot. I've got him sitting in the 84th spot, and the 33rd team has him at 178. So he is all over the map as far as what people think about him. As far as the consensus big board, I do not have that information pulled up. I don't believe. Nope. So let me pull that up too here a second. Carly, what do you think? You got anything to add about Marshawn Nealon here?
We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built-for-us.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510, declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
You may be muted unless you stepped away. She may have stepped away.
Andy Monday's saying that Jaden Reed started at Western Michigan and then went to Michigan State. I think that's true. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing that too. Rocket Knight says that he would like to see Jackson O-line from Oregon. Keith Jackson.
Yeah. Keith Jackson just the other morning. Remember Brett Favre's quote just the other morning? My mama brought out 15 flapjacks. She said, "Mama, take back 5 of them flapjacks. I got to stay hungry for the Crimson Tide." God, I can't remember what I ate last night, but I remember that quote.
I know, dude. That is so funny.
So the consensus big board has Marshawn Nealon in the 60 spot. He peaked at 57, and they've got him mocked at number 50 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Prince in the chat. Man, Keith Jackson was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, there's Marshawn Nealon. Again, 33rd team has him down in the 170s. Consensus big board has him up around, like I said, up around 60, peaking at 57. On my board, he's right in the middle there. So that's typically what you find with my board too. If you've got someone who's really high, really low, he usually falls right in the middle. And I like that about my board. It's like the safe approach to how these prospects fall. You don't get kind of that extreme addition. So, all right, next, another top 30 visit. We've got our boy from USF, offensive tackle Donovan Jennings, on a top 30 visit on Wednesday. Okay, so obviously offensive tackle. Let's see where he's at on my board real quick as we drop him down there. I think he's significantly lower, if I remember. Donovan Jennings. Where do we have him at? Because I think he might be a perfect match too. He's just lower on my board. I may have to search for him. I've got so many problems. Here we go. So he's in the 201 spot. If you'll notice, he is in the dark green, so he does meet the threshold, the maximum threshold for the Packers. He's a top 30 visit, and they met with him at the Shrine Bowl as well. So they've shown some obvious interest in Donovan Jennings at 201 a little bit later. Jacob, you got anything on Mr. Donovan Jennings? I'll go ahead. I'm going to drop my board down here real quick. It'd probably be better if we had PFF pulled up. That way we can get kind of his measurables and everything. Let me do that.
I'm not too high on Jennings. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done much research into him. He just at the 201 range. I mean, I could see us taking a late round tackle. I feel like that they're going to address it hopefully a little bit earlier. So I just feel like they're going to maybe use that on some different position. If they were to do one of the late round tackles, like we've talked about, Jalen Sundell, I actually like that. Ethan Driscoll's not horrible, but that I've seen Andrew Coker getting mocked to us a lot, and there he is, Donovan Jennings. I mean, that's decent. I'm not mad about that. USF is not, anything to shake a stick at. I guess they're a respectable squad.
So again, he matches the thresholds perfectly. He's projected, or I'm not a projection, but the PFF big board has him at 238. His PFF grade in 2023 was a 72.8, but 6'5", 333, just an absolute freak there, right? So could be a potential late rounder, or possibly, like you said, a UDFA addition to the team there with Donovan Jennings. And the Packers, they seem to meet with more of the potential UDFAs than most teams do in the league. That's just kind of the way that they get that extra information on some of those later round guys. So we'll see how that ends up unfolding there. So, Donovan Jennings, another name to keep an eye on going on that top 30 visit list. Let's see. We had the guys in the building today. Carly, if you got anything to add, you just cut us off, okay? At any point.
All right. No, sorry about that earlier. I had to step away for a little bit to help my baby girl.
No, totally cool. So obviously we had some of the guys back in the building today that's got bonuses attached to the voluntary off-season workout stuff, right? We had our boy QB1 walking in. He looks healthy. He looks a little thicker, Jacob. You think he looks a little thicker? I think my man put a little bit of muscle on this offseason here, man. That's what it's looking like. He might have that medium rolling right there, too, though. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And then we had, of course, Luke Musgrave coming in, learn how to tie his cleats. You got to love that, right? Walking into the building. And then the receiving corps is mobbing up in there. Do you love to see that? Christian Watson leading them. There's Bo Melton, Samori Toure, Romeo Dobbs, always the shy one in the back. I love it. Romeo looks like he hasn't ran a pick through his hair. Every time you see him, he looks like he hasn't ran a pick through his hair in a month, and he don't even care, man.
He won't smile. He just refuses to smile. I sent Clayton a clip of him. I don't know what they were doing. They were I was on like Wake Up with Kay or whatever that Kay morning show is. She's great. And she had a magician on because apparently like he voiced that he's not comfortable with magic and like magicians and stuff. So they had a magician come on and do like 2 or 3 tricks with him next to him. And there's a lot of curse words in the edit, so we couldn't show it on here, but it's hilarious watching it. At one point, he's just like, all right, I'm done. And he just leaves. He has to walk away. He's like, I don't. You can tell.
Yeah. Number 11, man, I'm excited to see what he does this year. Jaden Reed is just going to be, I think he's going to absolutely dominate this year. Then you had the running back crew coming in, A.J. Dillon looking fit. Everybody, look at our boy Josh Jacobs in the back there. I think he's a team captain, man. Can't wait to see him on the football field, man. Cannot wait. And then, of course, when they were coming in earlier in the day, LVN, look at this monster right here, dude. Like that dude, that's a hoss right there, man. See, you got Christian Watson obviously first getting in the building. Who's that back there? Who is that?
I can't tell. That's McDuffie.
Who is that? Who is that masked man? I don't know. So anyway,
what is that?
Christian Watson back in the building. Isaiah McDuffie.
Jordan.
Look at Jordan. Every time you see Jordan, he's with a teammate. This is the type of stuff you see, man.
What's the other guy?
Man.
I got to get to know this new squad.
Yeah, me too, man.
Maybe it was Wilson. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Xavier McKinney has a workout bonus attached in his contract, too, so we're expecting him there. Obviously, Sean Ryan has a workout bonus, I think $40,000. He said, I ain't going to leave those 40 on the table. So it's good to see everybody back in the building, man. It's awesome. Look at this big guy right here. My God. Look how big Caleb Jones is, man. I think I'll pass it to him. Like, he is a hoss. Look, the legs are what worried me, though, Jacob. You see those ankles, and it's like, that's a big old boy. Those ankles trying to hold up a lot of weight there, man.
Yeah, he's got maybe do a little more calf work, but hey, I got small calves. I understand the plight. So.
And then our boy Josh Myers. I hope he bounces back.
He's going the wrong way.
Yeah. I don't know, Carly. Some people think he should be going.
Man, he's facing the wrong direction. Again, he's facing the wrong direction.
I'm not saying I do, but there are some people that want to see him exiting the field. I just want to see him live up to that second round potential, man. That's the big thing for me. And I feel like he's definitely fallen short in that regard. So hopefully they can make that happen. Let me clean up this sidebar here real quick, and we'll get back to what we were talking about. So, Jacob, you sent this the other day, actually yesterday.
Too. I can't believe that. Like, there were fans tailgating today, so that's pretty cool.
Love it.
Again,
love it. I think it was Matt Schneidman that tweeted that out. So cool to see everybody kind of getting back out there. And listen, OTAs are for fans too, right? They got to get in peak form, don't they, Jake? They got to get in, in that in-season form and get out there and get some brats in them. Yeah, those 12-ounce curls, get in shape, the whole 9 yards. So, yeah. Let's see here. So you sent this over to me, Jacob. I'm going to read it real quick. I want to get your take. I want to get your take on it too, Carly. It says, Rasheed Walker isn't concerned about Packers adding competition at left tackle. Walker isn't concerned about any potential competition the Packers could add in the draft. Quote, that's one thing about me. I'm always going to compete regardless of the odds against me or on my side. Walker said, according to Mike Spofford of the Packers website, quote, that's why I'm really not worried. Just come compete. It's why the Packers may prefer to add a tackle who can move inside, giving them maximum versatility. A prospect like Barton, talking about Graham Barton, could compete with Walker for the left tackle job, but Green Bay may prefer to move him inside. If Walker or Tom got hurt, Barton could cover at either tackle spot. However, things will get interesting if they draft a tackle like Georgia's Amarius Mims or Oklahoma's Tyler Guyton in the first round. They are out-and-out tackles, and it's unlikely the Packers would spend premium draft capital on them with zero chance of winning a starting job. So, Jacob, I know you sent this over to me, man. What kind of piques your interest here, man? What do you think? We're now, roughly 10 days from the draft? Wow. How you feeling about it, man? Do you think – because I'm starting to think that Graham Barton is the guy if he's on the board.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that this article makes a good point just because of why. Like we talked about, we have a kind of a diamond in the rough already with Walker. If he takes that leap from year 1 to year 2 to even a few notches higher, I mean, the guy is an absolute steal for where we got him. And if he is able to just sit there and slowly get better, if he starts to grade in the high 70s, low 80s even, and that's his whole career, I mean, that's a solid tackle. And, obviously it's a left tackle, so if we want to improve at some point, we could. But, like, taking a guy like they talked about, Barton, who you don't have to force him to play on one of the tackles. You can slip him in at a guard position, and if something happens, worst-case scenario, you kick him out to the left tackle position or the right tackle because you got guys like the massive man Jones and other guys that we've proved that maybe they can slip in there as well. And, like, it shows on. I don't like us having to take a guy like Mims or Guyton because of the fact that if they are solidified maybe as that right tackle position, I don't want that to be only what we have that in that option. So you've seen with guys like Elton Jenkins, Zach Tom, Walker, and a bunch of other guys that we love versatility in offensive linemen, being able to plug and play. So I agree with this. I would love to see us take Barton if he's available. I think that would be hands down the best, most logical pick.
Yeah, I agree, man. And we'll pull the board back up and kind of take a look at Barton again. But, Carly, what do you think about this as far as Rasheed Walker talking about not being concerned about it? And maybe how do you feel about what they're talking about here as far as potentially drafting Amarius Mims or Tyler Guyton or Graham Barton?
At first, seeing the headline, I thought that, Rasheed Walker is, like, talking big, like, I'm not concerned. But now seeing the context, like, it makes a bit more sense that, he's – to start or to be a 7th round draft pick and then to be just go straight to being, a starter really soon. I think it takes some guts and it shows that he is a competitor. And so it's good to not be scared because you're going to go out and give your best. And I think that, it doesn't like bother me, etc. I'm excited. I don't know as far as what, I know that, they like versatility. I know there was some thoughts about like when you switch people around, then you might get like worse at 2 spots. As opposed to like having better, but I really think when you, at least with what I'm learning at football, like about football, just the cohesiveness of the O-line and how it really has to work together. And if you have any one weak spot is going to be the spot where it all breaks. Like it's going to be like one weak spot is enough to take it down. So I honestly would rather than having like 2 amazing, obviously you want good tackles, but having that and then a weak interior, I would like to have, maybe 80% all across the board where we know that there's no big weak link that's going to let anybody through. It's just kind of my thoughts. So whatever it's so much more complex than I ever even imagined. And so whatever Goody thinks is gonna, with input, of coach and stuff, is what he thinks is gonna be the best for the team. Like that's what I want them to do.
Yeah, definitely. And with as you were talking, the thing that I was thinking about is I would rather have a team full of good players than a team that's top heavy with a couple of great players and a bunch of average players. You know what I mean? Just solid across the board. And with the offensive line, I think it holds true more than anything. The biggest weak spot is obviously right guard right now. That's why I think Graham Barton makes all the sense in the world. And you throw in the versatility too. Now, if you'll notice, Graham Barton is 23rd on my board. In many cases, Jacob, we've seen he was gone when we mocked, right? So there's a chance that he does get drafted before the Packers pick at 25. Now, in the back of my mind, I immediately think those rumors about the Packers potentially trading up the 16 with Seattle, that would make sense for someone like Graham Barton. Right? If you get the trade done before the draft, then you put yourself at the 16 spot. And if Quinyon Mitchell falls to you like we had in the draft the other night, that's a slam dunk, make it happen. And your safety valve is the guy that you like the most at 25. You just didn't think he was going to be there in Graham Barton. Theoretically speaking, the Packers may not even have Graham Barton on their board. We don't know. I feel comfortable saying that's not the case. But you just never know, right? I don't want anybody to think that we're pretending like, okay, we've got Goody's board to figure it out. You just take all the information and try to do the best you can with it. So we got him in the 23 spot. He was the 7th highest graded, I think, tackle in college football in 2022, 68th highest graded tackle in college football in 2023. He started back in, I think it was back in January, maybe February. He was 27th on the consensus big board. The 33rd team at the time had him in the 32 spot. Daniel Jeremiah had him at number 33 on his very first top 50 list. Obviously, he scored a 9+, absolutely crushed the RAS with the combine, the pro day, what have you. And again, it puts him in the 23 spot. If you'll notice, he is dark green. He meets all the maximum thresholds for the Packers. One of the thresholds with an interior offensive lineman is if they had experience playing tackle as well in college. Obviously, Graham Barton is the poster child for that. And then also he was at the Senior Bowl, and they met with him at the Combine as well. Now, you'll notice there's not a top 30 visit. Sometimes they don't need a top 30 visit, right? They may go, look, we know what we got there. Let's don't waste a top 30 visit on him. And also, when you do a top 30 visit, if we've got the information, every other team in the league's got the information. So they might be trying to kind of, let's don't bring a whole lot of attention to the people who are selecting right before us or the teams that might potentially leapfrog us with a trade to get Graham Barton if he's at the top of their list. So that's one of the guys that's really popping up on my board the most is Graham Barton. Obviously, the other two perfect fits are Joe Alt. He will not be there. Fuaga, tackle from Oregon State. I don't think he'll be there as well. Then you got Graham Barton at 23. Then if you hop back down, you got Trey Benson, halfback out of Florida State. He meets all the maximum threshold as well. And then you jump down to 37 in Cooper Beebe. So if Graham Barton isn't there, here's another draft day trade scenario. And I think we would all like this probably more than trading up, Jacob. Think about this. What if Graham Barton gets selected at 22, right? And then at 25, we trade back, right? And then you turn around and you get Cooper Beebe, who, according to my board, isn't that much lower than Graham Barton when you think about it. He's in the 36 spot, right? So if you trade back to, say, 31, that wouldn't be much of a reach to get Cooper Beebe, and he does meet the maximum threshold, and he is a Senior Bowl participant. So we know there's been a ton of Packer players that they have, as Paul Riddle pointed out a couple weeks ago on Twitter, that the Packers really like those Senior Bowl participants. So what do you think about Cooper Beebe there, man? I mean, he actually, if you look at him from a guard standpoint, I think he graded out a little bit better than our boy Graham Barton. 12th highest graded guard in 2022, 3rd highest in 2023, 59 on the consensus big board at the time, 71st according to the 33rd team, maximum RAS a 9+, and again meets all the threshold. What do you think about Cooper Beebe?
I love that guy. He's awesome. Like you said, he's graded out unbelievably well. There is even a chance too that if you look up above there, Christian Haynes could possibly fall and be there at that spot too. So between Christian Haynes and Cooper Beebe, and then right below him is Zach Frazier, I'd be completely fine. And then a couple spots down is Bo Limmer. So that's a great little pocket right there. If you're looking to, like you said, if we trade back, who knows what type of picks we could get and how many. But I've talked about it. I love the second, third, fourth, and even early fifth rounds of this draft. There's just so much talent packed inside there that anytime that I can grab a couple picks, trade back, and still get one of my top players, that's Cheap Jacob's gonna strike again. I'm going shopping at Ross, baby.
Exactly.
So would these guys compete then with Sean Ryan? I'm still trying to keep everybody's name straight, but they would probably compete with him, right?
Yes, that's correct. As of right now, I feel everybody feels comfortable saying we don't feel comfortable with this being true, but it is true. Sean Ryan is probably the starting right guard as it sits right now. As far as Christian Haynes, Jacob, obviously he doesn't meet the maximum threshold, right? That's the problem. When you look at Christian Haynes, though, and where he falls short, he did not participate in the 4.75 shuttle. He did not participate in the 7.75 3-cone that's required, and he does not have tackle experience. So you got 2 question marks and 1 definite no out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threshold requirements that the Packers have met here recently. It doesn't mean they're not going to take him. They may look at the tape and go, we don't care about the thresholds. This dude's the real deal. I know I like Christian Haynes a lot. It's just when you look at the thresholds, you definitely got to take that into consideration. Again, as far as Cooper Beebe, though, he's a perfect fit. Let's see. According to Packer Report on their guide, they had him in the 62 spot. I've got him in the 36 spot, so I'm way higher on him than they are. He had a 9.71 RAS that obviously exceeds the 7+ requirement. He is 23 years old, I believe. No, 22 years old. There you go. His 4.75 shuttle, he got under that 4.75 with a 4.61 shuttle. The 7.75 3-cone, he came in under it with a, what is that number there? 7.44 3-cone. So he crushed that. And he does have tackle experience as well. So he does meet those requirements again. Cooper Beebe might be the pick there too if they need to trade back a touch. You never know. And who knows, man? Graham Barton might fall and the Packers nab him up, and then they may come back up for Cooper Beebe. You never know, right? It just depends on what grade they've got on these guys. But as far as running back, though, Trey Benson, I was surprised that he met the threshold for everything that the Packers like at the running back position. He's my 34th best prospect. How do you feel about Trey Benson, man?
I love Trey Benson. After reading Dane Brugler's the freak mock thing or whatever he does, the
beast.
The beast. Yeah, sorry, the beast. Everything about him, his story, the way he was brought up, the way he just the way he's built, just seems like a super powerful. I think he was the something crazy like he was the only FSU running back that's had an 80+ touchdown receiving and rushing. He was the only one that broke over like 350 yarders since Dalvin Cook or something like that. Had more receiving yards and this and this and this. And the guy's just well-rounded. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can run great. He's got a good body dynamic. He's a thick dude. I just think that I would love it. I don't know where we would draft him, but I'm starting to be more and more comfortable with them taking him even like in the second because I think he is. I think he is.
I knew that was coming.
Couldn't pass it up. Yeah, so according to Packer Report and their draft guide, they have him in the 71 spot. He's hands down the best running back in the draft, if I'm looking at this correctly.
If we took him at 58, I'd be cool with that. Anything earlier, I'd be like,
I agree. I don't want to see him spin. For me, and here's the thing, like everybody in the league is trying to project where these players are going to be taken. I haven't seen anyone suggest that, hey, running backs are going to start flying off the board in the second round. It kind of feels like it's third round and beyond. Now, all it takes is one, right? One flies off the board, and here comes the dominoes, right? That's usually how you go on a run on positions. But again, the RAS requirement for running backs here recently with the Packers is a 7.25 or higher. His was a 9.7. His age, 21 years old. You need to be 205 pounds or more. He's 216 pounds. The broad jump has to be more than 10 foot. His was 10 foot 2 inches, I believe. So meets all the requirements out of Florida State. He's one of those guys that I've heard some people describe him as a slicer. He's not like a bounce around high agility guy, but it's kind of like a one cut, slice and go. And he's got that top end speed. I'm really excited about him. I'm completely convinced that he's the best running back in this draft. And after him, you got to go to Audric Estime, which he does not meet the requirements, but I've got him in the 38 spot, me personally. Then Blake Corum at 41. And then I think there was one more that was fairly close. Where was he at? Bucky Irvin is the next one that falls in the line in the 67 or 68 spot. So the one I wanted to bring up here real quick is Braylon Allen. Obviously, he's gotten a lot of talk. There's a lot of Wisconsin fans that are Packer fans, and rightfully so, right? I wanted to see where he fell on the thresholds for the Packers. So Braylon Allen, they've got him 61 on the guide ranking. So he is actually higher on their guide ranking. Never mind. Trey Benson, if I'm going through the numbers, they've got it sorted by matches for the Packers. They've got Jonathan Brooks number 1, Braylon Allen number 2, and then Trey Benson number 3. Okay, so Braylon Allen, though, he doesn't have a full RAS, so that's not available, obviously. Age, he's only 20 years old, which is good. 235 pounds, that meets that threshold. But he did fall short on the 10-foot broad jump at 9 foot 9 inches. So Braylon Allen doesn't technically meet the not even the median requirement as far as the thresholds go for the Packers. But I'm telling you, man, the thing that you're going to get with Braylon Allen if you do go that route is that dude is a leader, man. He's just mature for his age. He's a leader on and off the field. Obviously, like you pointed out, and I think Dane Brugler had in his guide, already has charity set up in Wisconsin. He's the closest thing that you're going to consider a local guy for the Green Bay Packers. So I would not be upset if they drafted Braylon Allen. It's just when you look at the thresholds, kind of seems like a bit of a long shot, right? So anybody else you want to talk about here? Jacob, we're at the 45-minute mark. Anything else you want to hit on? Any thresholds, anything like that? Like I said, I've got all that handy right here.
I mean, honestly, not at this exact moment. What do you think about Jalen Wright? I heard Ryan talk about kind of how he was deceptively, when you see how fast he ran, it was like a 4.35 or something like that. You just automatically in your head think, oh, he's a little scat back, kind of small guy. He's like 5'10", like 200, I think, some odd pounds. So it's not that he's a real, like, I think he was very much larger than Aaron Jones. So he just doesn't seem like he, throws that weight around at all, but he is very, very quick, very agile, and it seems like he's kind of that home run type hitter. I didn't know what you thought about him, obviously being a Tennessee guy.
No, I thought he was a good back when he was at Tennessee. There's no doubt about that. He's 115 on my board. The big thing that helped him was his 2023 grade. He was the 11th highest graded running back in college football. The thing that drug him down, the consensus big board had him at 250 back in January. 33rd team has him in the 116 spot, which is right. I mean, just one spot off of where I have him. RAS through the wazoo. He is a full threshold match for the Packers. He also was at the Senior Bowl, so that's a plus according to who the Packers have drafted here recently. So Jalen Wright looks like a pretty good match too, man. He does. If I were to pull up running back again here as far as thresholds, just to kind of see where he fell in the ranking as far as matching the Packers. He's the third best match, it looks like. 9.8 RAS, 21 years old, 210 pounds. He had an 11-foot, 2-inch broad jump. He had the second best broad jump of the entire draft or the entire combine or what have you. It looks like Blake Watson out of Memphis beat him by 1 inch. So plenty of explosion with Jalen Wright, no doubt about it. So I would be okay with Jalen Wright. And that's one, too, that like say that Trey Benson or one of these high guys that don't really match. Again, Trey Benson is the perfect match for the Packers at the highest ranking at 71, according to the Packer report. But if you're not able to get him, Jalen Wright would probably be one of those guys you could try to nab in the 3rd or 4th round, right? If he continues to fall. So AFAM in the chat said Jacob thinks he could get 3 yards per average if he was a running back in the NFL. Is that true, Jacob? Do you think you could do that?
Well, the thing is that I'd only run it one time and I'd go to the left or something, and it'd be like a reverse option pitch to the left. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be just like some trick play that I got 3 yards on, and then I'd retire. and then I never let you live it down, Atham. So
I love it.
Can I ask you to do one thing? I sent you over a clip, or we actually were talking because what's his name? Devontae Smith. Is that the name? Yeah. From the Eagles. He got signed today for a 3-year, $75 million per, 51 guaranteed. And I thought, they just way overpaid this guy, right? And Clayton responded back. I didn't see it until I was just looking right now. His PFF grades were actually very, very great. And I thought, well, what about his stats? His stats are actually really, really great. Pretty much a 1,000-yard receiver at least every year. Touchdowns, people can him and haw about that, but he's been a difference maker. And the reason I think that's a great segue is to the other article I sent you of Kurt Bankert, where he was just looking at who is Green Bay Packers quote unquote number one receiver. And he did a really cool breakdown where he listed 4 receivers in 4 different plays, and each play he would attribute them to be the wide receiver number 1 on that specific play. And what's also cool about that is it makes you think, like, the Packers, what's so great again about them having such a young and talented first, second, third year receivers at our guys at wide receiver, all 5, 6, 7 of them that we have on our roster, is we don't have to pay these guys yet. But when they do end up to that point where they need to be paid, we have to start thinking, are we willing to pay them, any one individual of them, $3 million, $50 million guaranteed, 75 over 3 years? I don't know. It gives us the option that we can say, hey, man, that's a little rich. You need to take a pay cut if you want to stick around here. Or you can say, we're going to trade bait you around, because if you really are that high paid of a player, you could be a first or second round pick. Or that means that we just say, sorry, man, we have 5 other guys that are just as good as you waiting in the wings. Go get your money, but thank you for your service. Like,
right. And that's the other thing too. Like, you've got to understand how contracts come about. It's all about comps. Spotrac does a great job of preparing those comps and going, okay, based off what they've done with their health, their availability, and what they've done statistically, and their age, and the other contracts that you can compare across the league, here are the top 4 comps, right? Well, if you're doing what Kurt Benkert is kind of hinting at here, he said, press man with no safety help, Dobbs. Red zone, Dontavian Wicks. Open field soft cover 3, Jaden Reed. Heavy play action with low safeties, Christian Watson. How'd I do? I love it, dude. Absolutely perfect. So when you look at it from that perspective, teams aren't going to always play the Packers the same way. They're going to bring a mix of coverage. They have to, because if you do try to go zero coverage, we'll hit you over the top. If you try to play a too high shell, we're going to nickel and dime you underneath with people like, a Dontavian Wicks and a Jaden Reed underneath, right? So when you approach it that way, you're never going to have a receiver that has the type of season that Davante Adams had. So the comps, in my opinion, are always going to be a little bit lower. The receiver that led our team last year was Jaden Reed, right? If you did his comps across the league, I guarantee you that contract would not be that expensive. Probably wouldn't crack 10 or 12 million per. So I think what you're going to see happen is they're going to spread the ball around. Matt's going to continue to do an excellent job. Coach LaFleur is going to continue to do an excellent job of scheming guys open. Therefore, everyone's personal numbers are going to be down because the ball's going to get spread around. You're going to end up with Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson coming up for that contract first. And I don't think it's going to be anything like unrealistic, like, holy cow, we got to break the bank to keep him. With Devonta Smith in Philly, if you've got another approach where it's like, okay, you're playing kind of this quarterback RPR game, and you got 2 vertical threats with the guy that they got from Tennessee, his name's
Brown.
Yeah, Brown. Yeah, Brown. So you got 2 guys with inflated numbers. The comps are going to be through the roof, right? And that's why you got to pay the guy. So this is how the Packers have always done it until those back-to-back MVP years with Aaron Rodgers, where they were leaning really, really heavy on RPO. And that RPO was elimination, isolation. Let's get Davante Adams in an isolation play every single play. If they play off, let's do an RPO lookie. If they're playing bump and run, let's get us a double move somewhere on the backside, right? So I think that's kind of how that'll come into play. And what's awesome about the Packers wide receiver situation right now, in my opinion, is if Romeo Dobbs or Christian Watson try to play hardball and hold out, I'm not suggesting they will. I think that we've got good unity across the team. I think they would be more than reasonable with their contract extension, seeing that the ball does get spread around. If someone does play hardball, I don't know. We just got Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks lying in the way, right? So
Melton and Malik Heath.
Yeah, right. Goody is cooked. It's the old Breaking Bad gif or meme. Someone cooked here. It was Goody. So he got this wide receiver room turned around real quick. It's exciting.
And I can see you guys, and I can see too with like the camaraderie and just the what seems like the good vibes that were there in the in the locker room. And you can see these guys, everybody said like they're excited to be back. Like these are their friends, these are the guys that they just love playing with. Like I think that also has a lot to do with making people, maybe take a little less money. Like they want to be back. And these are the guys that they've grown with and have challenged them and have been, have helped them. I guess Aaron Jones is gone with the whole lifting the kid's head up, but I'm sure like that sets an example, right? And if these are the ones that they have learned how to be NFL players from, like I think that just carries on ahead and it's going to make them want to stick around. I hope anyway. I'm talking myself into it. Can you tell? Right.
I do that all the time. I'm a fan with my heart. I try to find that common ground and stay in the middle, but I'm kind of like Tim. Tim's rubbed off on me a lot. It's like, how the hell with it? Let's just fan with our heart here. Let's roll. Deadfish says Goody got 2 top 150 players in 2020. He got 3 in 2021, but the last 2 drafts, he's got 9 and 6 players in the top 150. Just phenomenal, man. Again, someone cooked here, right? Ben Holden says Tyrone Tracy will lead the Packers in receptions year 2. So he's already banking on them drafting Tyrone Tracy. It's an exciting prospect for me. Hearing Greg Cosell rave over him, some people, they hear that and they go, oh, whatever, Clayton. He was raving over Dontavian Wicks last year, right? And look at what happened. Tyrone Tracy is one of those hybrid top players, halfback / wide receiver. Played wide receiver the year before, played halfback last year. When Greg Cosell sees something on tape, man, he sees something on tape. So just keep an eye on whether the Packers are able to draft him or not later in the draft. Whoever takes him, be ready to hear Tyrone Tracy's name in the NFL. I believe that with everything in me. Let's see. I had a couple more here. Yeah, Chris Ian trying to get us in trouble. Andy, mock draft Monday, trying to do it. They're trying to do it to us. There's no time today, guys. We're at the 55-minute mark.
And he's like, that's the only good part of my name.
Love it. Let's see here. Eric Sutherland says Melton, Heath, Dubose are there also stacked with wide receiver. It's a good point, right? There was a lot of people that were excited about Dubose before he kind of got hurt and got, put at the back end of the roster there. So we'll see what he can do. Bo Melton is the one that I'm really excited to see, Jacob, because he graded out higher than everyone in the wide receiver room, according to PFF.
I'll tell you this. When I started my new Madden campaign, I made Bo Melton my number 2 receiver. And
did you give him a little boost in attributes?
I gave him a little boost. I gave him the visor. I gave him all the cool gear. I made Bo Melton just a beast of all men there. So I really do hope that he takes I don't know how much playing time he can get, but I hate to, knock on wood. The Packers wide receiver room has, kind of been known for not withstanding injury throughout the whole year. So I have no doubt that he'll get his time to shine. So I just hope that when he does, he's going to make the most of it. Talk about somebody that made the most of every opportunity that he's ever gotten in the NFL. He's shined. I remember him shining in preseason. I remember him shining in OTAs. I remember just reading about him, be like, Bo Melton makes another crazy acrobatic catch over the middle. I'm like, Bo Melton going crazy. So, yeah.
Exactly. I love it. Let's take a second here before we wrap up. I want to give a quick shout out to John, Trucker John in Green Bay, a new member of the Patreon group of the PTA Posse. Appreciate you, Trucker John. It's always good chatting with you. We text on a regular basis, man. Just an unbelievable man out there keeping the country going, driving the truck. And we'll make sure that you're on the pinky wheel here for not one of the draft for round 1. We're going to be spinning the wheel for everyone who's a Patreon member of the PTA Posse. And we're going to be giving away an autographed Paul Hornung jersey. It's going to be a really cool piece of memorabilia. We got some other cool stuff coming down the pipe too. Again, it's just a way to give back to those who are supporting the channel. We appreciate it. And again, just a reminder, I can't say it enough. If you are a member of our YouTube channel, okay, the monetization got paused. Cancel that membership in case the monetization comes back. We don't want you guys to just randomly get hit with that, okay? It's my understanding that as soon as the monetization comes back, they'll just charge you for that, right? And if you guys want to hop over to Patreon in the meantime and just join that, we're going to try to use that more and more moving forward. The messaging platform on there is absolutely awesome. I can just kind of put a post out on there, and it's almost like we all have it in text form rather than having to wait on the stream for the YouTube members to speak. It's a really cool platform. So if you're interested in that type of thing, it's there. There's a link in the description of the video as well. Really, really cool community we're creating over there. So again, that Patreon is Packer Fan Total Access, one word, on Patreon. So Jacob, you got anything else before we wrap up, bub?
No, man. I don't know how to do it because I'm really technically illiterate, but I'm gonna try to post a few of those songs and tag Clayton and Tim and Emilio in them. So if you guys want to try to look it up, I'm telling you, the ones I made for Clayton, they are legitimate country music songs that I would listen to, and they got good beats, good instrumentals. I'm telling you, you guys would be blown away at how good these songs are, and they're hilarious.
It's wild, man.
It's honestly scary.
We don't inside jokes and everything that's created on this show. I'm not gonna BS you, man. I was in the work truck today and I was tapping my foot to that country song. So, I was about to ham bone. You guys know what ham bone is? If you don't, Google it. All right, YouTube it. Ham bone is a little redneck dance there back in the day, but called it slap drumming too back in the holler. You know what I'm talking about. But Carly Ray, you got anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, I got two quick things. First, what do you think the actual chances are of drafting an offensive, just anyone from the offensive side in round one? Because it really seems to me that Goody's a lot more. I mean, they've really leaned hard on defense. And do you know off the top of your head, his track record? Was the last offensive person Jordan Love? Like, what are the chances?
I don't know the track record, but I do know this. In the first round, they tend to kind of lean toward those thresholds. And every draft's different. Like Lucas Van Ness at 13 made all the sense in the world. He met the large majority of the thresholds, right? So when you look at the way the board sits, and let's say realistically, we're not going to have a shot until we get to the 16th pick, right? Around there is where people might fall. The first one on the board, Graham Barton, offensive guard, right? / tackle. The next one, Trey Benson, halfback. They're not going to spend a first or a second round pick on halfback. I really don't believe that. You got Cooper Beebe at guard. He meets the threshold. Chris Jenkins is the first defensive player, and I don't think anybody's got him mocked to go in the first round. I would be okay with it. I think Chris Jenkins is going to be a phenomenal NFL player. So based off of the thresholds, the maximum thresholds, Carly, I think my money would be on them taking an offensive player unless they trade up. Now, again, it just depends on what kind of grades they have on these guys. I know what you're saying in the past. It seems like they have definitely went defense heavy in the first round. That is 100% accurate. I just think it has more to do with those players in those specific drafts. And this one kind of feels like where the Packers are picking, there's a good chance that, it's going to be an offensive lineman there in the 25 spot. I could be wrong, though, because when we've done the mocks, we've covered a ton of information. Here's who we mocked at 25. We went Kool-Aid McKinstry at one point. We got Cooper DeJean, so 2 defensive players right off the bat. Amarius Mims has been talked about a lot. So is Tyler Guyton, right? We didn't take him, but Tyler Guyton's getting mentioned. He's an offensive tackle. Byron Murphy, we got him once or several times. Johnny Newton, and then also Powers Johnson. So kind of a 50-50 split there when you look at the numbers overall as far as how our mocks have fallen. So I think it's a crapshoot, to be honest with you. I just want to see them trade back. That's what I want to see. I want to see them trade back and take multiple swings, let Goody cook in the second round like he has here recently. I know another mock dropped earlier today. We were going to cover it, but we ran out of time here. We're at the hour, 2-minute mark. 33rd team did a mock draft, and with the 41st pick, who do y'all think they took? Tyler Nubin, baby.
I was saying Nubin.
Man, so I think with the first pick, they took Graham Barton too. So we'll try to cover that tomorrow. I'll keep that stuff handy so we can hit on it. So anything else, Jacob? You good, bub?
That's good.
Hey, Carly, did you have another question? I'm sorry, Carly. You said 2 questions, didn't you?
Well, it is Monday, and we don't want to disappoint the posse. So maybe we could do, a real quick, 5-round or something where you can't look up any PFF grades.
I gotta go.
You're not going to do this to me, Carly.
No,
my wife is walking downstairs right now, and she's going, "Oh, I'm going to slap him in the back of the head."
I do have to actually run. I can't.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, how about this?
I tried.
She really did. She is a lady of the people here with the PTA posse. How about this, Jacob? You going to be available tomorrow night? You think?
I should. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we commit to doing a mock draft tomorrow night since everybody's asking for it? that cool?
Yep.
All right. There, you got my word, gang. We're doing a mock draft tomorrow night. All right. So be ready for that. And I will be ready for the hate mail that I get for doing another mock draft. So.
Maybe try to think of a specific scenario too. If you guys in the chat figure out if you want us to trade up, if so, which spot, if you want us to trade back, if you want us to stick and pick, do that. Or if you want us to try a second round trade, maybe something like, I don't know, maybe think of something unique, make it a little different.
Yeah. There you
or
go.
we can do the thing where we do the snake draft again, because that's unique too, where we can't take the same player. I like that because that way you can kind of deep dive into a few different prospects as you go. So
I'll tell you what else we could do too. I could set up 2 separate windows and we could do 2 drafts. Like you do one, I'll do one, and we'll just kind of bounce back and forth. You know what I'm saying? We'll do a mock draft overload for you guys and gals tomorrow. So I promise. But Eric said, that's it. No mock draft later, folks. I'm out of here. See you. So. All right. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun, especially the chat. Y'all carried the show as you always do in here. We really appreciate that. I'm sure Tim and Emilio might be back tomorrow. I think Emilio's family is in town, so that's awesome that they came down to visit, that he's getting that quality time there. The draft's next week, man. So this week we're trying to get as much last-second information as we possibly can. We're all hoping and praying that no prospects end up smoking the devil's lettuce out of a gas mask, because we know how that ends. We want to make sure that all the prospects do nothing to get themselves in trouble, because there is millions of dollars on the line right now. It just sucks. I hate it for T'Vondre Sweat, but that's you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. You know, I've like Jacob said, I was young once, and let me tell you, I was a moron. So there you go. But appreciate everybody. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. Yes, a YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.